On October 2nd, the air was filled with a fresh autumn breeze that signaled the arrival of fall, my absolute favorite season. This particular autumn was special, as it marked the first one that my boyfriend Daniel and I would be sharing together in our new home. Excited about the season's charm, I wanted to surprise Daniel by decorating our place with a mix of fall and Halloween-themed decorations before he got home from work one day. I thought it would be a sweet surprise, and I couldn't wait to see his reaction. To start my decorating mission, I made a trip to a nearby Marshall's, where I picked up a few festive items. In addition to that, I explored other local shops and browsed various apps and websites for more inspiration. Facebook Marketplace in particular caught my attention. I simply typed fall decorations into the search bar, and one listing really stood out. It featured a big green plastic container filled with an array of autumn decorations. Intrigued, I clicked on the listing to gather more details. The ad stated that everything must go, and the entire container of fall-themed decorations was priced at only $20. It felt like an unbelievable deal. The ad included a note at the bottom saying the seller was clearing out their house and had other items for sale as well. Curiosity piqued, I decided to take a look at the seller's profile. What I found was a rather odd assortment of items he was selling. Alongside the fall decorations, he had an allegedly new iPhone listed for $700, a few pieces of women's clothing, and some Christmas decorations. The profile itself felt somewhat obscure. Everything was set to private. The man's name was Henry, and his profile picture was a close-up shot of a gray trucker's cap, which obscured his face from view. The cover photo was a blurry image of a lake, adding to the mystery. Feeling adventurous, I decided to message Henry, and to my surprise, he replied almost instantly. I inquired about the types of decorations included in the container, and he responded that it contained all sorts: tableware, outdoor decorations, and more. Excited by the possibilities, I told him I would come by to buy them that very day if he was available. He confirmed he would be home around 9 p.m. and provided me with an address. After receiving the address, I quickly looked it up on Google Maps. I discovered that the neighborhood wasn't the best, but the house itself appeared perfectly ordinary. 2 cars were parked in the driveway, and the lawn seemed well maintained. Feeling somewhat reassured, I decided to meet Henry, but I also invited my friend Amelia to come along for safety. I picked Amelia up across town, and we set off on the half-hour drive. As we traveled, we caught up on various topics, sharing stories and laughing together. However, as we entered the town where Henry's house was located, Amelia started to half-joke about how sketchy the area felt. I could tell her tone was a mix of humor and genuine concern, as this town had a reputation for being less than desirable. It was dark outside, and the scenery consisted mostly of streetlights, traffic signals, and the occasional storefront. Just as we were getting closer, my phone vibrated in the cup holder, signaling a new message. I glanced at the screen and saw it was Henry. He informed me that when we arrived, we could come right in. I showed the message to Amelia, and we both felt a sense of unease. It seemed a bit unsettling, and we agreed that we would ring the doorbell instead. Upon arriving at the house, we noticed there were no cars in the driveway, only dim lights visible through the closed blinds. I quickly messaged Henry, letting him know we had arrived and asking him to come to the front. As we waited, both of us felt increasingly uncomfortable, and we watched the house intently. It was then that we both noticed, almost simultaneously, that the blinds at one of the windows had shifted slightly, as if someone were watching us. But just as quickly, the blinds fell back into place. A few moments later, Henry messaged back saying he was at the door. I felt a rush of unease wash over me, but I was grateful to have Amelia by my side. We stepped out of the car and walked toward the front door, but before getting too close, I called out, "Henry?" a few times, only to be met with silence. Amelia leaned in closer and whispered that we should leave. Ignoring her suggestion for the moment, I took a few steps closer and called out, "Henry," loudly. Still no response. At that point, I turned to Amelia and whispered, "Let's go." Just as we began to walk back to the car, a voice called out from inside, "Hey, yes, I'm here." We turned to see a man standing at the doorway, but he was only partially visible. He was peering around the door, waving us inside. Cautiously, we turned back and walked toward the door. As we approached, he fully opened the door but then stepped out of view again. We climbed the steps and entered the house, leaving the front door open behind us. Almost immediately, we were assaulted by a strong odor, something akin to that cotton scent often found in an elderly person's home, but mixed with something far more unpleasant. From another room, we heard fast, heavy footsteps retreating, followed by Henry's deep voice directing us. "It's over in here. Come here." His tone was eerily intimidating, which made me more anxious. I made sure Amelia was right by my side as we ventured further into the adjacent room, and what we encountered was nothing short of bizarre. The dimly lit living room featured a grim, pinkish-red carpet and outdated furniture that looked like it hadn't been touched in years. But the smell in this room was far worse. It was putrid, almost unbearable. In the center of the room sat a red container topped with a green lid. Henry stood just over it, and this was the first time I got a clear look at him. He wasn't a friendly-looking man at all. He beckoned me to come over and open the container. I quickly noted that this container was not the same shade of green as the one in the Facebook ad, and it was a completely different shape. Sensing something was off, I hesitated and asked him to open it himself. His response was, "Well, you're no fun," which made both Amelia and me instinctively back away toward the front door. But when he lifted the lid off the container, an even more disgusting odor wafted out, overwhelming us. Without a second thought, we turned and bolted for the door, racing back to the car without looking back until we reached it. Amelia urged me to hurry, and once I finally got the car started, I noticed the front door of the house had already closed behind us. I couldn't shake the feeling that he might have been watching us through the window. We sped away from that unsettling place, leaving the mystery of what was inside that container unresolved. I was certain it wasn't the decorations I had hoped for. Later that evening, I recounted the entire experience to Daniel, who was understandably concerned. He asked for the address, and I immediately told him not to go there. He promised he wouldn't, but he was curious enough to look up the house. The following day, he came home later than usual from work. When I asked him about it, he revealed that he had actually stopped by Henry's house. An older woman had answered the door and insisted she lived there alone. Daniel, however, knew I wasn't lying because I had shown him all the messages from Henry, which included the address. After some research, Daniel discovered that the official records for the address listed the owner as a woman in her late 60s. The entire situation left us both feeling deeply disturbed and confused. It was an experience that defied explanation, and from that day on, I vowed to avoid visiting anyone's house when buying items online. The thrill of a good deal wasn't worth the potential danger. Reflecting on this, I realized how quickly things can turn from innocent excitement to a nerve-wracking encounter. It served as a stark reminder to trust my instincts and to always prioritize safety over the allure of a bargain. From that day forward, I promised myself I would approach online purchases with a much more cautious mindset, ensuring that my adventures in the world of secondhand shopping would never again lead me into such a precarious situation.
For more videos, please subscribe.